Hello students. Today we are going to discuss the topic recursion in Python. So what is a recursion? Recursion refers to the technique of defining a process in terms of itself, which means when a procedure repeats itself again and again, then it is known as recursion. Second point, it is used to solve complex programming problems that are repetitive in nature, which means sometimes users create complex programs by reusing the code again and again in the same program. So what is the solution? How can we reduce the complexity of a program? The solution is recursion. Recursion makes a program very precise and concise. If we talk about the concept of repeating the things again and again, then one more term is connected over here, which we have already studied. And this term is known as iterations. If we talk about iterations, we have studied about two types, for loop and while loop. In for and while loops, we also repeat the set of instructions again and again. So if I say that recursion and iteration are based upon the same concepts, then it will not be wrong. So if I say that recursion and iterations are same, then where is the difference? The difference is here in the memory allocation. The iteration uses the same memory locations used by the variables. Like at the time of execution, as many as number of times my loop is executed, it will use the same memory locations allocated to the variables. But it doesn't happen in case of recursion. In recursion, as many as times the recursive call will be there, a new memory space will be allocated to the variable each and every time. So in terms of memory allocation, they differ from each other. It is simply implemented in a program by using a recursive procedure or function. Like we all know the syntax of using for and while loop. But we have not studied that how to define a recursion, how to create a function, how to create a recursive function basically. So what is the syntax for this? If I call a function in the same function, then my function will get converted into a recursion. So the problems that can be solved by iteration can also be solved by recursion. It is helpful in writing clear, short, and simple programs. So let us move upon the coding. Now, as we can see that a very simple program is written over here. Write a function to calculate the sum of n numbers. So this is my function header where I have used one formal parameter by the name n. Now here I have taken one variable, add is equal to 0. Now, while loop is used to repeat this set of statement again and again. So what is the working over here? We are checking that whether n is greater than 0 or not. If the condition satisfies, then we are entering into the loop and we are performing calculations. Add is equal to add plus n, and each and every time my n will be decremented by 1 as it is written over here. And the function is returning add variable. So the value which will be calculated by this add variable will be returned by this function. Now, as we can see over here, the main function part is also written where we are calling our function. When I execute this program, this output will be generated. Now the question arises that how to convert this function into a recursive function. Because as I told you that if I write this function call inside my function, it will be converted into a recursive function. So let's see how to do it. I'm going to copy my function here. And let's mark the previous function as comment. Yeah. Now move upon here. This main function part will remain same here too. Now, as we have discussed, that recursion and iteration both work in the same manner. So, if I remove this iteration from here and I use if statement, then I am on the way of creating this as a recursive function. So if I'm not using my while loop, there is no significance of writing this decrement statement. Okay. Now the change will occur over here. What are we doing here? We are adding n value into the value which is defined by add variable. Let's move upon this function. Here add value is initialized as 0. Very first time when n is 5, then it will come over here and 5 will be added with 0 and it will produce 5. Next time when n will be decremented by 1, then it will come over here and will add value which is already calculated into my previous step as 5 with value of n which has been decremented by 1 which is 4 and will calculate it as 9. So basically each and every time I am reducing the value of n. So here if I write sum of n minus 1, my motive will be solved completely. How? This sum of n minus 1 will work like a previous add calculation. And because I am passing n minus 1 over here, so this n minus 1 will work like an actual parameter for the function call. So basically I am using this function call inside my same function. Now this function is known as a recursive function. Now let's check how is it working. Press F5. See, it is also producing the same result as earlier. Now students, as we have discussed in our previous class, that interpreter reads each and every line, each and every statement one by one. Here also in case of recursion, it is going to read the statement one by one. But there is a difference in the memory allocation at the time of execution. Now I'm going to tell you that how your recursive function will take place in the memory at the time of execution. Let me adjust the screen once. Now I'm writing some of the statements over here that how many times my loop is going to run. Sorry, my function is going to be called again and again. I guess 5 or 6 times. So I'm writing first time execution. What will happen? At my second time, what will happen? At third time, what will happen? At fourth time, how will it work? Fifth time, how will it work? Because my value of n is 5. So let's take it till 5. If it will be required, we'll add it. We'll add on. Okay. So let's start the execution of the function. N is 5. Now it will go upon here and we'll check that whether I is within the range or not. As I have written over here n plus 1, so my range occurs from 0 to 5. Now, according to the value of I very first time, the function call will be like this. That means I value as 0 will be passed as an actual parameter over here. Now, as soon as interpreter will recognize the actual parameter over here, it will go and look for the header. Once it is reaching over there, this n formal parameter will catch and hold the value of this actual parameter. So accordingly, this time my n is 0. Now interpreter will read add is equal to 0. It will compare over here whether 0 is greater than 0 or not. So condition becomes false. Now what will happen? My interpreter will not read the statement at all. It will come directly upon return statement. And it is going to return the value of add, which is initialized as 0. So very first time my function call is sum of 0. And if I talk about the result of this function call, then it is 0 basically. Now, again we are coming over here. Now I value has been incremented and it has become 1. Now this actual parameter will go and store into my formal parameter as 1. Come back here. Now we are checking whether 1 is greater than 0 or not. Condition becomes true. Now in this case, my interpreter will read this statement. So here my add variable is calculating the result. But actually I am not getting the result over here. But I am getting the result in this form. Sum of n minus 1 is what? If my n is 1, then n minus 1, 1 minus 1 becomes 0. So sum of 0 plus 1. This statement will be returned by this variable over here at the time of second execution. After that, the pointer will again come back over here. I value has been incremented by 1 again. It has become 2. Now again it will go and stored into my formal parameter. The condition will be checked over here. Yes, of course, 2 is greater than 0. We are entering over here. Again, we are calculating it, but no result will be taken off, but this statement will be generated. Sum of 1 plus 2. Again, we are coming over here. 3. Now this value will go and store into formal parameter as n is equal to 3. Again, we are checking over here, 3 is greater than 0 or not. Again, we are getting the result as true. But again, we are not getting any calculation result, but we are getting this equation, sum of 2 plus 3. Next time again, we are coming back. I has been incremented by 1. The value of I has become 4, and 4 is within the range. Now we are going over here. N is equal to 4 this time. We are checking this. 4 is greater than 0. Yes, of course. Again, we are coming back over here. And unfortunately, again, we are not getting any result, but an equation. That's 4. Now again, I will be incremented by 1. It has become 5. Now 5 is within the range. Of course, we are going over here. Now here we are checking 5 is greater than 0 or not. Condition becomes true. It is greater than 0. Now here, the execution takes place 6th time as well. This time again I'll get the equation as sum of 4 plus 5. Next, my I will be incremented by 1. It becomes 6, which is out of the range. So my interpreter will not even enter into my for loop. So the execution is finished. Now it will be processed for the result. How the result will be calculated? The 6th time execution took place in this way. That means in my equation there is a function call. This function will call this function. It will call this function. This function will call this function. Sum of 1 will call this function, and so on. If I talk about basically very first time, I was calling this function. Second time, I calculated the result for sum of 1. Third time, I calculated the result for sum of 2. Fourth time, I calculated the result for sum of 3. Next, I calculated the result for sum of 4. And the last time I calculated the result for sum of 5. And every time I got this equation. Now let's start with it. How the execution will take place now to calculate the result. When my sum of 5 will recognize this function call, it will ask to execute this function. But once my interpreter will read this, it will again get one function call over here and will jump here again. Once it will look to execute this function, it is again getting one more function call inside this function and will jump onto the function call here. Once it will start executing it, it is again getting one function call inside, and accordingly it will jump over here, where again it is getting one function call, and then it will jump over here. Here finally it is getting a result as 0. Now, after calculating this 0, basically, this sum of 0 value will be passed over here, which is 0, and will add with 1 and will result as 1. If I talk about this function, then this sum of 1 has got the result as 1, which will be placed over here as a result, plus 2, which is again resulting as 3. Now sum of 2 result is 3, which will be placed over here as 3. Sum of 2 is 3 plus 3, which results as 6. Now the sixth result is calculated for sum of 3, which is over here. Now I'm writing the result calculated by sum of 3 over here plus 4 and calculating the result for sum of 4. Go up and write the result of sum of 4, which is calculated as 10 plus 5, which results as 15. So very first time, all the statements were stacked over here from bottom to top, and the result was calculated from top to bottom. This process of execution is known as stacking. What do we call it? Stacking. So basically, what is a stack? If you understand this term, stack is based upon LIFO concept, which means last in, first out. Let's take an example to understand this stack. Take an example of a container. Like, I want to place the erasers into my container. So what will I do? I'll place first eraser, then second, then third, then fourth, and so on. Let's say I have placed 20 erasers and my container is completely full till top. Now my next step is, I want to take out the eraser which I inserted very first time. So what will I do? I will start taking out all the erasers from the top from my container. That means the eraser which I placed at the end, I will take it out first. And once I will start taking them out, the eraser which I placed first will become the last to be taken out from the container. So overall, what is stack? The things which I inserted very first, I'll be able to take them out at the end. Or the things which I inserted at the end, at the last, I'll be able to take them out first. So that's why we are calling it last in, first out, LIFO. Same procedure is followed over here also. Once my program execution took place, all the statements started stacking over here one by one. First sum of 0, then sum of 1, then sum of 2, sum of 3, sum of 4, and then sum of 5. But once I started executing them, then the first statement was executed first, which was dependent upon this. it was dependent upon the next, it was dependent upon the next, and so on. And we reached till the end. And again, we started calculating the results from bottom to top. And finally, we got the result as 15. So this is all about memory allocation of a recursive function at the time of execution. I hope I'm clear with the concept. So let's adjust the screen again. This. Now, again, if I come back upon my code, again, I want to repeat it. Let's recapitulate the concept. That recursion is basically a procedure, which is, let's say this is my procedure, which is repeating itself again and again inside itself. So basically the sum of n minus 1 is not written anywhere else, but it is written in the same function definition. So this function is known as a recursive function, and this process is known as recursion. So let us take one more example. The next function in the sequence is write a function to print Fibonacci series. Fibonacci series, we all know that we generate the series by adding our two previous numbers. So here two numbers I have already taken as B and A, and the third number I am generating by adding them together. So let's have a look once quickly. First number is 0, second number is 1, third number I am generating by adding these two numbers, which is 1. Now this number I am going to generate by adding my two previous numbers, which is 1 plus 1 as 2. Now again I am generating by adding two previous numbers, which is 1 plus 2 as 3, 3 plus 2 5, 5 plus 3 8, 8 plus 5 13, and so on. So let's have a look at how my program is working over here. I have initialized A as 0 and B as 1. So accordingly here as well, if I say my 0 is A and my 1 is B. So how am I calculating my C over here? By adding A and B together. So this is my C. Because I'm using over here my loop, that means this procedure is going to be repeated again and again. So let's check it. How does it work? I'm writing over here. Now in this, what have I written? I'm making my B as A and C as B. Like if I write over here that I'm converting this B into A and C into B, and next C I'm calculating as A plus B. Let's move on. Here, again I am converting my B into A, C into B, and I am calculating C as A plus B. And so on. So this is what? This is actually an iteration. And as we have discussed in our previous example as well, that we can use a recursion as well. So let's have a look at how can we convert this program also into a recursive function. So I have copied it. Now I'm marking it as a comment. Okay. Now let's come over here. What are we doing over here? We have taken already two numbers and we are adding them. First of all, I want to remove all the print statements from here. Secondly, I want to convert this while loop at least into my if statement. Then if while is not there, no decrement will take place. Okay. Then now what can I do over here? If I talk about A and B, if my n is 2, let's take an example. Then accordingly, my A is what? A is n minus 2 because 2 minus 2 is 0, which is this. And if I talk about my B, what is B basically? This is n minus 1, which is 2 minus 1 is 1. So we are working like this. N is equal to 2, A is equal to n minus 2, and B is equal to n minus 1. Same we are working upon here. If I index them, if I index my values, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So if this is my C, then B is C minus 1 and A is C minus 2. If I talk about this, if C is 3, then B is C minus 1 and A is C minus 2. So here I am taking C as N. So if my N is 2, B must be N minus 1 and A must be N minus 2. So now let's convert this program. If N is equal to 0. If my N is encountered as 0, my function will also return 0. If my N is 1, then my function will also return 1. As in the previous program, we have printed them without any calculation. My A was 0 and B was 1, and we printed it directly. So here also, if my N is 0, it will return 0 directly. If my N is 1, it will return 1 directly. But if my N exceeds 1, which means I'm writing one condition that N is greater than equal to 2. In this case, what are we going to do? Let's say I will return fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. So here if I talk about A is n minus 2 and B is n minus 1. So I have converted this statement into my recursive statement. So after writing this, I do not need this statement anymore and my function will run perfectly now. So we have seen that how can we convert an iterative function into a recursive function. Now how will I run it? Let's say I'm taking n is equal to 5 for I in range n. Then I'm printing directly my fib of I. This is my final function call, and here I have written my function calls to call this function again and again repeatedly. Now let's check F5. This is my result of this function. These two functions basically are repeating themselves again and again as many as times this function will be called here. We are calling this function basically, and this is my this function. But inside this function, I have written my function calls twicely in the form of n minus 1 and n minus 2. So these functions will also called again and again along with this function call. This is known as recursion. So as we have discussed about the execution process of our previous program, we can talk here too. Let's take it once more and then we'll finish our concept. Okay. So again, I'm going to write this, that the first time execution. Okay, then repeat it. Repeat, and then this. Let's check how many times will it work. So basically this is my second time. This is my third time. This is my fourth time. This is my fifth time. And maybe I need sixth time as well. Let's check. It depends upon our execution. We'll check it whether we require sixth time or not. Now, here my value of n is 5. So we are taking the range as 0 to 4. Or let's take it 5. So make it n plus 1. Let's have a look. So my range is 0 to 5. Accordingly here, my function fib of 0 will be called, right? Because my I is 0 very first time. Now, as soon as the interpreter will look upon the call of a function, it will directly jump upon the definition of the function, which is fib of n. Here, n will hold the value as 0, which is passed by actual parameter. Now, as soon as the interpreter will enter into the function, it will read if n is equal to 0. And the condition becomes true very first time. And it is returning the value as 0. So my very first function call is fib of 0. Okay. Next time, I will be incremented by 1. So it will become 1. Now this time n will hold value 1, which is passed by this actual parameter over here. Now again, interpreter will enter. It will check whether n is equal to 0 or not. So 1 is not equal to 0. But here 1 is equal to 1. Condition becomes true. So in this case, it is returning what? It is returning 1. And in the previous case, it was returning 0. Now third time, I has been incremented. It has become 2. N will hold the value as 2. Now these two doesn't have any significance over here because these two conditions become false in this case because n is 2. So now we are coming over here. N is 2 right now. So what are we going to return over here? Fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. Which means directly we are not getting any value as a result, but we are getting a statement. What is n minus 1? If n is 2, so n minus 1 is 1 plus, and n minus 2 becomes 0. So fib of 1 plus fib of 0. Next time, I has been incremented by 1. It has become 3. Now n will hold the value as 3. Here we are checking 3 is greater than equal to 2 or not. Condition becomes true. Again, in the form of an equation, we'll get the result like n minus 1. So if n is 3, what is n minus 1? It is 2. and n minus 2 is 1. Let's come back over here. Fib of 4. Now n will catch and hold the value as 4. And 4 is greater than equal to 2. Condition becomes true. Again, we are returning this equation. And it will come in the form of fib of 4, n minus 1 is 3 plus fib of 2. Now my I has been incremented by 1 again. It will go and store over here in this way. Now we are checking 5 is greater than equal to 2 or not. Condition becomes true. We are entering. Again, we are returning the value as in the form of equation fib of 3. This time again my I has been incremented by 1. It has become 6, but 6 is out of range. So my interpreter will not even enter into my next statement and will terminate. Now, the stack has been generated over here, as we have discussed about stack in the previous example. That what is a stack? I'm sorry, Control Z. Okay, let me indent it properly. Okay, so let's 1 second. Yeah. So it has been stacked from top to bottom in this way. So execution will start from top and slowly it will come till bottom. So let me write the results over here. It was the result of fib of 0 basically. It was the result of fib of 1. This equation was the result of fib of 2. And this equation was the result of fib of 3. This equation was the result of fib of 4. And this equation was the result of fib of 5 finally. Now, my bottom two processes have only calculated the results as 0 and 1 because directly we were returning the values over here. But my rest of the equations are not returning any result. So now let's start with the execution from the top. Fib of 5 has executed the statement which is containing the function fib of 4 and fib of 3. Now if we look upon fib of 4 has also not calculated, fib of 3 has also not calculated. If I come over here, these two functions are also not calculated, but my fib 1 has got the result as 1. So let's move upon here. Now fib of 1 is 1 plus what is fib of 0 over here? It's 0. So it will calculate as 1. Let's move here. Now equation is saying fib of 2 plus fib of 1. My fib of 2 has been calculated over here as 1. So I'll write over here 1 plus. Now what is my fib of 1? It is written over here. This is again 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now let's move upon here. This equation is containing fib of 3 plus fib of 2. So fib of 3 result is 2 plus what is my fib of 2? It is 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. Let's move here. Fib of 4 plus fib of 3. So the result of fib 4 is 3 plus the result of fib 3 is 2, which is 5. I hope I'm clear with it. First, these two values were calculated. Then we have substituted these values over here in this equation and we calculated the result over here. Now we substituted the values over here in this equation and we calculated this result. Same here and then here finally. And I have got the result as 0, 1, 1, 2, 3 and 5. So my function call was there 6 times. Now let me adjust the screen again. Yeah. So now come back onto the function. Recapitulate the concept. We are calling functions inside the function, inside its own function basically. So this procedure is known as recursion. I hope, student, that we are clear with the concept, but this concept requires more and more practice. So I request you to practice for the program and prepare this topic well. Thank you for the day.